I just want to welcome everyone. I'm Ambrose Moses. I'm an extension educator with Central State University in the Community and Economic Development unit. And CED Office Hour Live is the program that we're doing here today. We do these on Thursdays at 2 p.m. And it's an opportunity for our team to share some of the thoughts, topics, and conversations, as well as detailed information with the community, and also to sort of invite you in and have invite you into the conversations that we have. And it's sort of spawned out of some discussions that our team was having, and we were thinking that this would be good just to be informative and helpful for the community, just to talk things over in a more informal manner. So everything doesn't have to be formal with someone standing up at a podium and sort of lecturing to you. So we're looking to have more of a interactive discussion. And so our topic this month is Say It Loud, the Urban Agriculture Movement in Ohio. And we're going to have some sessions where we talk about what urban agriculture is, why people or organizations or groups or communities get involved with it, and sort of what is the what are some of the needs, or what are some of the things that are needed to help develop and grow it, and what does the future look like? And this is an opportunity for some of the individuals who are currently have some history in it, and who are currently active in the space, to share some thoughts and information with us, and for us to ask them some questions and to engage with them. And so that's going to be what we do over these next 4 weeks. Our topic today is the why of urban agriculture. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. My team that I work with in community and economic development, they're online with us here this morning or this afternoon. We have Eric Smith. He's one of our extension educators in the Northwest region. And we also have Amber Twitty, who is one of our CED extension educators in the Southern region. Central State University has broken the state down into 5 regions where we have staff. And our team, we're still in a building process. We have 3 of us now, and we are in the process of bringing, interviewing and for others to bring on staff. We have some guests today, and they'll get an opportunity to provide more detail about their background and who they are and their organizations. But we have Julia Lynn Walker with the Brownsville Growers Market, who will be presenting or speaking with us today. And we're actually, I'm broadcasting from the Brownsville Growers Market site right now. So Ms. Walker is gonna be here for just a portion of the program, because there are some other activities happening that she's involved with out here. We also have Mark White, who is with the Riddall Green Partnership, and he's been active with Riddall for quite some time. And that's been one of our community partners with Central State University over the last several years. We're also going to hear from William Cook, who is one of the conservationists with the USDA Nrcs. And I believe his territory is now moving from the southern or southwest part of the state to the northeast in the Cleveland area. And we will have someone joining us later, will be Reverend Lavelle Henderson, who is active in the urban ag space, and also engaging with and helping provide resources for veterans. And there are a number of agricultural programs and projects that look to serve the needs and interests of veterans as well. And we'll be able to hear some of that from Reverend Henderson, as well as Mark, Mr. White with Riddall. But what I would like to do now is to give Ms. Walker some time, a few minutes to introduce herself and to introduce the program or organization that she's working with at this time. Ms. Walker?
Thank you very much, Ambrose. I am the manager of the Bronzeville Growers Market, as well as the facilitator for the Bronzeville Agri Academy and the Bronzeville Urban Growers. And that is all contained within an area of Columbus, Ohio, the Near East Side, that traditionally has been known as Bronzeville, and it's been the home of the heart of the African American community. And so these three activities, one, the Agri Academy is a way for people to know generally how to become involved in gardening, how to get their hands dirty. It's a 10-week online course that I offer twice a year, and it's open to anybody. And I have people literally from around the world who participate just to talk about gardening and growing things and how you do that and what you do and who can support you in doing that. And then within Columbus itself, within Bronzeville, those who are interested in actually growing, we've developed a corridor of growers known as the Bronzeville Urban Growers, or the BUGs. And this is through a grant. This year we have the third cohort, and we work with them really in raised bed gardening, because we've got some issues that I think are consistent with a number of urban environments that are barriers to in-ground gardening. And then the farmers market, which is operational today and where Ambrose is really very unique. It's very interesting today that I have a group of high school students who come from a variety of schools who may or may not have shown interest in gardening, but because it's a paid position, they were willing to become involved. And for the past 2 weeks, they've been getting their hands dirty and learning, and yesterday I said, okay, now you're ready for your own bed. And they actually got excited about it. So when we think about the next generation, we have to think about how to, get these folk involved and get them excited about getting their hands dirty. And then the farmers market is also in Bronzeville. And we have, it's been a bit of okay, and when we started, I want to just share this very quickly, that when we started 5 years ago, this is our 5th season, we were actually discouraged. We were actually told that there wouldn't be interest in having a farmer's market in a community like this. People weren't used to a farmer's market. And in terms of the politics of the community, another area of the city needed attention, and I should forget about my market and put my energy behind this other market. And I said, okay, see you. If it's me and 2 tomatoes, it's me and 2 tomatoes. I'm standing out here and serving my community. That market lasted 2 years. This is our 5th year. And I think that, and this is just leading my last point, and then I'll stop for a second. And I think that's because, and I really appreciated you calling this or addressing this as an urban agricultural movement, because I think it is a movement. And when we talk about movements, we talk about rights. And when we talk about rights, we also understand that a lot of what's happening now in society generally is really about expanding that definition of rights. What does that mean? We talk about the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that the social, economic, and political rights of the United Nations don't apply within the domestic United States. People are saying no, because if we don't have food, how do we have the right to life? So that's one part for me. The other part, in terms of a movement, is that for me, a lot of this is also about recovered memory. And I know that that's a contentious area for some, but when we think about the experience of Africans and people of African descent, not just in the North America, but throughout the Americas, then we all, as a society, need to understand the contributions, both in terms of labor and in terms of agronomy or agriculture itself, the actual seeds, the plants themselves. We need to have that discussion to flesh out, help to support the contributions overall of people of African descent. So for me, it is a movement, it is about rights, and it's about recovering and building on a substantial part of our past.
Thank you for sharing. That is wonderful. I guess I had a question. There's a lot that that you've been involved with, and that your organizations have been involved with. Won't you talk a little bit more about the youth? I mean, because that's when I came out this afternoon and I saw the young folks, and it's a sizable group of them. Tell us a little bit more about that and how the impact or the utilization of urban agriculture as a tool, in terms of
Right.
engaging.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, part of the recovered memory discussion also must acknowledge that there are stigmas attached to getting your hands dirty. And so part of that is overcoming and saying agriculture and a career in agriculture is a legitimate option. And so being able to put that before people and have them explore, one of the things I say consistently is the Ohio State University has 22 majors within the College of Food, Agriculture, and Environmental Sciences. And that's just within that one college. The other colleges also have options. So whatever you're interested in, whether it's engineering, math, the culinary arts, whatever, you can tie it to agriculture. And so we really want them to understand that, yes, we need people who are willing to grow. That's fundamental. And we've got issues, connected to what that means in terms of the commercial production of food, particularly in the United States. But we also need something, and then there are other areas attached to that. So whether you're going into we have a number of different areas. All right. So, but first, we have to get the idea of agriculture in their heads as an acceptable option. And so I constantly, talk about and involve and show differences. And the other is simply very selfish. I came back to Columbus about 10 years ago for a semi-retirement. I'm working harder now than I did 10 years ago. So I'm tired. And I'm like, my whole focus, and there's someone on the call who will speak to this, for the next 3 years, my focus is workforce development. And so I'm working with the city schools. There are 7 schools in this district. I'm working with the schools. I'm working with the community college. I'm working with Ohio State to have a public lecture series here at the African American Studies Center. And I'm working with a proprietary school. We receive certification. We receive approval from the state of Ohio for a post-secondary certification in urban agriculture. So in 3 years, I want this pipeline to be full. So at each stage, I want to see folks in, and then I'll step back. I should step back at that point.
Excellent. But helping to build that infrastructure, that pipeline, and to sort of set things up to pass the baton, or create a baton for the next generation is a wonderful thing. And that the project that you're talking about with respect to curriculum, we have some of our staff helping, assisting with that project as well, from A&R, and I've been in some of the meetings as well. Looks like Amber, one of my colleagues, has a question or a statement.
Well, more of a statement. I just want to say, Ms. Walker, it is so refreshing to hear all of the great things that you are doing. I have a love for that youth employment. I believe bringing them in where they are and helping them to level up so that we can have systematic changes. And they're aware of all the opportunities within agriculture. So I just wanted to applaud you for that, and please keep up the good work. Yes, you're working harder, but you're more so working smarter.
Thank you.
Right? And I'm going to use your term that that memory recovery. I'm going to have to include that in my future presentations, because that is right on point.
Please, I share freely.
Right. All right. Thank you, Amber. So before we move on to the next guest, is there anyone else have any questions? Any of the attendees, any questions, comments to share with Ms. Walker? She will be leaving our session here in just a few. Looks like everything is pretty good with the kids outside, but she still needs to get out there. Any other thoughts anyone want to share with us?
Yeah, Ambrose, I just want to say
Hi,
something
Kip
right
Curtis
quick.
here. Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, no, sorry, didn't want to interrupt.
I was
Yeah,
trying.
go ahead after you.
I was trying to get my microphone on. Ms. Walker, so nice to hear your story. I mean, it's really inspiring what you're up to, and I think it's key working with kids at that age. There's a concept, actually, an older concept in the workforce lexicon of Ohio called farmerized, and I learned that term when I was up in Lima, and the manufacturers were bemoaning the lack of what they called farmerized youth. Used to be the kids grew up on a farm, and when you do, you're solving problems all the time, and you're figuring out how to solve them yourselves. All of which is to say that that's the kind of greater benefit, whatever the youth do who move through this, if they're starting to practice some kind of agriculture, and particularly if they start to think about commercial agriculture, the kind of executive knowledge that's needed to operate something like that is applicable in so many ways. So it's a really terrific point in time to be touching these growing young adults. So I laud you for that. I wonder about. I'm working with Victor, and I'm actually working with a group. We're about 4 years in up in Mansfield, Ohio, where we're building a system of small urban farms that are connected together into a cooperative. They've become a fairly successful kind of crop broker at this point because of their brand, and are kind of humming along. And so that I think about as another pathway for some to learn some of these skills, and then to be able to actually go into the business of urban agriculture. And I'd love to talk with you more about what sorts of opportunities might be there for youth who've kind of gone, I really like this, because everybody doesn't like farming, and it's okay. We really only need about 5% of the population farming. But you want to find the people who really like it and are captured by it. So
Right.
Yeah.
And actually, the certification that we're working on has an experiential component. I insisted on it from the very beginning. So it's 1/3, and so they have to. And actually, over the next 2 months, we're actually sourcing sites. It won't start till March, but we're actually talking to people within Franklin County to see if they would host, because we understand that this is something where people really have to get their hands dirty, and so we really. Yeah, and so, but what I would, and we got some little money. We're looking for some more, but we really want to do field trips. So we want to come up to see you. And there's some other group folks. We really want to do it and come out and see. You may be familiar with Pam Mack up at El Marie. Yeah, so she's served, and then let me just sort of kind of end there, because it's really great. I've got these high school students that come from the inner city. They have a clue. Half of them are here because their mama said, you have to be here. We don't want you to spend all day in bed, which I understand, but they're getting their hands, dirty. They're understanding, and we're gardening. And then we have the farmers market here in this corner, the heart of the African American community. And we've got different people coming in. I would say it's 80% African American vendors. Okay.
Oh,
and then I am using produce that has been sourced from one of the few certified organic African American women farmers in Central Ohio. And it is through a federal program called Farm Share, which was agriculture money that was reallocated as part of the pandemic. So it's an excellent example of how federal funds could be used not only to prop up particular businesses, but to extend them into new areas and to develop new relationships. So for me, this is the perfect kind of model.
Yeah, RGO delivered a whole bunch of boxes through Farm Share to a couple other garden sites in Columbus last summer before. Yeah, no, great set of programs. How do I connect with you outside of this? I'd love to set up a field trip.
Oh, definitely. Let me see, can we get Mark in real quick? Because I know I'm gonna have to go. Did he still have a question?
Oh, no. Hey, hello, how are you? I just wanted to thank you for what you were doing, and also to applaud the efforts, because again, I think that Ambrose had said about the movement the urban agricultural movement is just part of a larger green movement. And that green movement is one of the largest movements in human history. It really has no observable leader, but it's a movement of consciousness. And so people are waking up to certain of the realities of what they have to do to become relevant to the times. And so I think that for us, it's very, very important to be there to assist. And I'm grateful for what you're doing in your area there. I would like to invite you to our farm. And I would also like to come
Definitely.
to see what you all are doing. And again, to applaud you. And thank you very much for the things you said and for the things you're doing.
Well, I'm going to get the recording. I really have to run. I'm really sorry that I can't hear about the Riddle experience because I do want to see that. We will make an appointment and get up there. We'll get up to Richland again. It will all work, but after September 29th.
All right. Sounds
Take
good.
care. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you, Ms. Walker, and the recording will be available. Thank you. And so I would like to take this opportunity then, Mark, to sort of pass the baton to you. You can introduce yourself and read all to the group.
Again, yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Mark White. I'm one of the founding partners of Red All Green Partnership. I'm also a state technical advisor to the Nrcs. And so I've been in the area of urban agriculture, which is a unique position and the first of its kind. Mr. Terry Cosby introduced me to that position a few years ago before he left and ascended to a higher office with the Nrcs. And so he just said to us and my team that urban agriculture is about really taking the next level or next step in an area what's called regenerative agriculture. So it's helping to regenerate, resuscitate, and restore our urban environments, which are formerly a lot of brownfield environments, that through soil remediation and many of the things that we try to do to help bring the soil back to a quality so that people can begin to farm and have certain gardens and things of that nature. So again, the Red All Green Partnership is an urban farm where we're dedicated to youth education and environmental stewardship. And we've been in operation since 2011 up in the Cleveland area in the central neighborhood. And many of you may know the central neighborhood or may know central neighborhood through Cuyahoga County in terms of it being one of the worst food deserts in the country. I think number two in the country and maybe number one in Cuyahoga County. And so what it is that there's a disparity of life expectancy of 29 years between the people who live here and those that live in the surrounding community. And so we realized that urban agriculture had to be more than just a farm, but it had to be a farm that actually grew relationships and grew connections between people and their better selves and also what's possible, okay? Because a lot of times the urban community is bereft of a lot of things and mainly hope. But, hope grows at a farm. Hope resides at a farm. It's a practice. It's a common practice to put a seed in the ground and to, again, have the appropriate steps taken. And then at the end of the day, see something germinate and bloom, blossom, and we can eat from it. And so it's a similitude of a greater thing that we're seeking. And so the Red All Green Partnership started as an acre and a third piece of property in the Cleveland Kinsman Central neighborhood. And we blossomed into an 18.5 acre campus to date, where we're kind of replete with a lot of aspects of urban agriculture and farming. So from the perspective of aquaponics and fish farming, we do that. We teach that from a demonstrational level to a full-blown workshop, 5-month workshops with aquaponics. Also greenhouse and hoop house gardening. So we have a large amount of trainees and attendees to come to those workshops. And again, as I said, they are annually over the last 11 years. And so within the Cleveland area, we've been operating, trying to introduce this piece. And again, like I said, make farming sexy again. For many of our people, and I think it's really important that the next generation has a level of appeal, or that farming has an appeal to the next generation. And so how do we then make it contemporary? And how do we allow it to evolve into where they can, take and put their hands to it and evolve it to a whole nother level that we have to get to? Because believe it or not, when many of my generation were born, as you know, to think about buying water, to drink was just kind of unheard of. Now we're buying air and water, air to breathe, water to drink. And what are our children really going to be left with if we don't take a stand? And so I think it begins where people are, helping to resuscitate and restore, the environments where they live. Because a child, for instance, which we bring a lot of children through our gates, a child deserves the right to be taught in a way that has them to fall in love with the natural world. And what child that's in love with the natural world won't want to preserve it, won't want to love it, won't want to take care of it and push it to the next level. And so this is what we're all about, man. And so for us, it's very, very important. It's essential that we plant the seeds in the hood, because green in the ghetto, and so, and we say it all the time, but, green in the ghetto is sort of like our, a term that it references our work. But energy scientists are saying now that, green, in the energy spectrum relates to the heart chakra, right? And so when you talk about green and you're talking about having a heart, having a heart for the hood, for us. So we're seeking people that have that heart and that these things can resonate, with them to help rebuild ourselves, rebuild our communities, rebuild our families. See, because in the greater sense, as a bigger metaphor, the community is the farm and the people are the plants, and so how do we, cultivate and continue to cultivate the fruits of goodness, the fruits of wellness, from in our communities that can go on and to teach and to show by example many around the world who are doing similar things or who have similar scenarios with brownfields and many areas, throughout where they live, that are
Oh, did we lose Mark? One second, he's coming back in. Mark, are
So
you
sorry
back with us?
about that. I got disconnected because the one thing I don't like about Teams is anytime somebody call you, it just hangs you up. So I must need to put it on airplane mode or something like that. But
Okay.
to my point, I was just simply saying that there are many communities around the world that suffer with light and a lack of care and a lack of love. And so to look at an example or to try to cultivate an example from within one of the worst areas in America, I say, because again, and from a man who's looking at, approaching 60 years old, according to where I come from, I'm living after my life expectancy. You follow what I'm saying? And at the same time, we like a species that's becoming extinct. And so this is not just a fight for our community, it's a fight for our lives. It's informing ourselves, and not just at this physical level, but at a whole nother level. I mean, epigenetically even, making changes or allowing, the youth to see that the pathway to wellness and the pathway to success, may be to tweak your environment, to change your perspective, to look at life through a different lens. And so these are the kind of things we try to expose people to at Ritol. Again, as I said, we do aquaponics. We have a very robust workshop where we teach many of the disciplines that we demonstrate there at our farm. We so again, we're the site of Cleveland's tree nursery, where the city of Cleveland pledged to grow 360,000 trees a year over the next 10 years to help reforest a once forest city. And so we took that on. We went into partnership with the Cleveland Foundation and the city of Cleveland to erect the Cleveland Tree Nursery. It's on our site as well. Again, many of the things we're doing, I would like to invite you all to come on down. Ambrose, I know we're getting to that time. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
Well, thank you, Mark, for sharing. And I want to go ahead and apologize now to everyone. I think I may have stacked this session because we have a hard stop at our 3 o'clock. We only do it for 1 hour. I apologize. I think I may have stacked too many strong interests here. But what I'm going to do is move on to our next presenter. Then we can sort of open it up for comments and questions. Next, we have William Cook. who is one of the conservationists with the NRCS. And he's worked in various areas around the state, and I think currently assigned to, or in the process of being assigned to the Cleveland area. But William?
Hello, my name is William Cook. I'm now the urban conservationist covering the Akron and Cleveland area. I'm just giving you a quick overview. I know we don't have much time, so I just wanted to say a little bit about NRCS and the Cleveland High Tunnel Initiative. So it's not just NRCS, we also have partners we work with there. One of our main partners is a Farm Service Agency, as well as we have a partnership with the Federation of Southern Cooperatives, the Soil and Water Conservation Districts, and also RIDAL as well. I was going to slow a slideshow. Can you see my screen here?
No. It worked earlier.
Let's try it again.
Did you hit the share button at the top?
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, we see it.
You see it.
So I'm actually a Central State graduate. I graduated from Central State in 2012 from the Water Resources Program, and I was one of the first recipients of the USDA scholarship. And that's kind of what got me into agriculture. But I remember it was probably about it was years ago, something Mark mentioned. I went to a training at RIDAL. He had mentioned that life expectancy thing. And that's one of the biggest reasons the Cleveland High Tunnel Initiative started. So like, if you look at the map here, you can see the little beige blotches. So in those areas, it's food deserts. And you can see in those low income areas, the life expectancy is 64 years. And then just within a mile outside of it, it jumps up to 88.5. So like with NRCS, we work with more, experienced producers. So you have to have a year under your belt as far as growing history. And with those producers, we build high tunnels and help them with conservation practices like no-till and different things to build up the soil. We have a lot of different programs we administer. I won't go into it all. I'll just share that unless anybody has any questions. But I also wanted to add that with the success of the Cleveland High Tunnel Initiative, now NRCS, urban agriculture is worldwide, or not worldwide, but throughout the United States. So any county within the United States, you're now eligible to apply for a high tunnel and different practices that were once only available in Cleveland. I'll tell you the biggest hang up we run into though in a lot of the other cities, because Cleveland had a lot of framework put in where everywhere in Cleveland is considered farmland kind of, so everyone can get a farm number and track number anywhere. So it's no real zoning issues. A lot of other cities, they run into a lot of zoning issues. So it's still a lot of work probably needs to be done in that area. But as long as you get past that part of it, urban ag has moved into forest within RCS and has moved into a lot more places now. But I'll leave it at that unless anybody else has questions or anything.
All right, thank you. Thank you, William, for sharing that in terms of the resources, the background there with with NRCS, and and that was one of the items that when I first went into Cuyahoga County as my initial territory, they were about maybe 3 to 4 years into the High Tunnel Initiative at that time, and they were pushing to get 100 high tunnels erected under the program, and the work that AJ, the prior individual in that role had in terms of engaging with the community, the different organizations, helping to get the farmers or urban farmers qualified for the program was just amazing, to watch and to provide, any educational assistance that we could. So it's amazing to see now that it was a success in the Cleveland area, that now it's going to be available, nationwide at the county level. So. William, could you hit the stop share for your screen as well? Okay, so what I would like to do now, we can open it up if there's any comments, questions that anyone has
Sure.
for any of the speakers or anything that they just want to add. Kip?
Yeah, I had a question for William. Thanks for the presentation and the quick overview. I'm curious how many high tunnels are out there and wondering what the sort of spectrum of activities are that are taking place in those spaces.
So right now it's 124 high tunnels have been
Wow.
erected since the start of the program.
Wow.
And we have people doing everything from tomatoes. I would say a little bit of everything. I've
Are
seen
they, I
I've
guess
seen mushrooms. I've seen.
my
Go ahead.
curiosity is this sort of household supplemental versus commercial face mix.
So I would say it's three different groups of people we get. So I'll say 1/3 of it is people actually running businesses and they're trying to make profit or they're growing something special that they're using to make other products.
You know,
The other set are individuals who's usually get a smaller high tunnel or something like that, as far as for their personal use to be able to grow at home. And then we get a lot of nonprofits. That receive high tunnels, and those are usually for education,
right.
outreach, and that
Right.
sort of thing. So those like the three different
Yep.
categories, I would say.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks, William. Appreciate it.
Okay,
Appreciate what
no
you're doing.
problem.
All right, thank you for the question, Kip. Amber, did you have something to add?
I was getting ready to ask about the eligibility of nonprofits, but you just answered that.
Yeah.
So
So with everybody, you need to have at least 1 year of growing history. So you have to have some like skin in the game. So we need you to have at least 1 year of growing history, just showing that you've been growing and producing something for at least a year.
and
How does
also,
I'm sorry.
can you provide the PowerPoint? Because I know you didn't get to go through it like you had anticipated, but if you can provide that so we can send that a copy of it out to the attendees would be helpful.
Okay, then we do a presentation it's usually the last weekend of every month. It's on a Saturday or Sunday. Far as going over the whole high tunnel program and everything, and FSA is usually there as well. So they'll be able to give you the input on the eligibility process and what paperwork you have to fill out to get your farm and track number. But I'll provide all that information.
Thank you.
No problem.
Just one other quick question on that. How does a nonprofit show history or experience? How is
So
that?
cropping history, basically, I would come out and see that you have a garden there, or you've been doing something there as far as agricultural wise. We just don't like coming out and there's nothing there and your first time growing, you're applying for a high tunnel. It's usually for more experienced growers that, they want to extend the growing season and know what they're kind of getting into it for. So we like to have at least 1 year of cropping history, just to kind of prove, just, I don't want to say prove yourself, but just to
Okay.
show that you are a farmer, right?
Okay.
But
Excellent.
what if you have a person or persons that are going to be part of your nonprofit that has that experience? Would that be considered, even if you as an
So
organization?
the eligibility wouldn't necessarily be for the person, but for the land. So eligibility is for, okay, this plot of land here has been a farm, you've been growing on it, because you may be leasing that land from someone else. And that person, is just letting you grow on it. But the eligibility will be for the land. It has to have 1 year of growing history or cropping history,
Okay.
I should say.
So does that differ from other USDA programs? When you hear about beginning farmer and that kind of thing in terms of getting experience, is that land-based or is that individual based?
So a beginning farmer under our programs, you'll be, as long as you've been farming less than 3 years, you'll be considered a beginning farmer.
Okay.
And then, it's other programs for socially disadvantaged women, veterans, and different programs like that, where it's like higher cost share or whatnot. But still, to be able to apply for a high tunnel or get into the program, you will still have to have 1 year cropping history. So let's say, this year you decide, hey, I want to apply for a high tunnel next year. This growing season, you probably should have started planting and growing something and just getting prepared.
Okay. All right. Eric, did you have a question or comment? You're muted.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry about that. Well, I guess I'd be curious to know, since we work in various regions of Ohio, it'd be interesting to me to have, if you have it, is there any sort of a description of the work, for example, in Cleveland, that we could share with other communities, especially as I think about municipalities and how they might be able to, they may need to be convinced that we need to
Right.
open up our code, you know, uh, so if there was some documentation of the benefits and how you went around it, that might be really useful for the other communities we work in.
Right. So me personally, I don't have all that information because I'm kind of just getting. I mean, I've been working in the area for a little while now, but I'll probably get some of my predecessors. I know Al Norwood, AJ were here before me, and a lot of this started far as outside of NRCS with Congresswoman Fudge and some of the regulations that she put in within that area. So those are some of the people probably you can reach out to and just figure out how it kind of happened. I know it was a program. Yeah, I can reach out and just try to figure out, who you can talk to, implement some of that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Mark, did you have
Well, as far as the city of Cleveland is concerned, many of the things that we're doing, we do have data for a lot of that. I would just talk with my colleagues and partners relative to even some of the deliverables that we've had to be responsible for with grants and whatnot. But as we maybe talk offline specifically, we can kind of nail down or drill down on what specifically you would like, and we make it available to you. Yes, sir. My pleasure.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. You guys, if you have any other questions, feel free to ask or raise the hand, and we'll make sure we call on you. Mark, I did have a question for you.
Yeah.
In terms of the expansion there on the Ridall campus,
Mhm.
I noticed that you have the you have the restaurant now, I think.
Yes.
Is that open now? I think that during the
Yes.
pandemic is when it was like being constructed. Can you tell us about how that fits into your Ridall's urban ag activities or ecosystem?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. As a community kitchen slash farmers market slash restaurant, again, we wanted to be relevant to what the people needed, and we did see that really some of the brick and mortar places just operating as a regular old restaurant wasn't really serving the purpose, but we wanted to kind of create even opportunities for other young businesses and other how would you say emerging foodies and foodies to serve their culinary expertise to the public. And so the name of the restaurant is called Guess Who's Cooking, right? And so Guess Who's Cooking is just like that. There are a wide array of chefs that we partner with and farms that we partner with, and they have opportunities to come and to share. We just had Chef Wells down, and he prepared. It was a beautiful dinner. It was it accompanied the presentations. It was like $100 plate dinner, and so it was it was big time, and
Okay.
so I'm saying that to say that that's one level, but then we have a daily scenario where on Tuesdays, Friday, and Sunday we offer lunch and meals to the public. And so Tuesdays is like a Taco Tuesday, Network Tuesday scenario where people can come and purchase from our menu that I can provide for you all. It's quite extensive. It's high. It's heavy vegan. It's pretty much all vegan except for the fish on Friday. And so we do it's like a vegan soul food menu. Fish Fry Friday, just like the fish we grow with tilapia, and we actually serve and make that available to the public on those days, as well as a wide variety of sides and other meals, like vegan Polish boy and you know, I'd say fried green tomatoes, et cetera. And we do a vegan brunch twice a month. So those things are available and serving the public from that,
Okay.
from that place. Yeah.
Okay. And it's not $100 a plate though, right?
No. Very reasonable, extremely reasonable.
Okay.
I'm just showing you where it can go. The
Right.
potential,
Okay.
the potential is so great, and definitely very extremely reasonable. because don't forget
Okay.
where we are. We feeding the
Okay.
people.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Cheryl DeGroat, do you have a question, comment?
Yeah, hi. I came in kind of late because I spent a half an hour trying to get onto my computer at work. Then I just picked up my phone, which made a lot of sense. But I just want to know about the hoop houses. Are those available for individual use for Mr. Cook?
Yes, they are.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. That was all I wanted to know. Thanks.
All right. All right. Are there any other questions, comments? So, in terms of where things are going next in urban ag, what do you all see as some of the needs? What do you know sort of envision or see? Let's say sort of in the short term here, like in the next 12 to 18 months. What would you like to see happen, or what are some of the more current needs that you're looking to address?
Well, I would like to speak to the fact that we need environmental consciousness, and for farmers to be aware of, carbon drawdown, carbon sequestration, what that really kind of means, and the whole regenerative approach to agriculture, to urban agriculture, regenerative approach, and training within the next 18 months. It's key to sustain ourselves beyond, these next few years.
So is there something happening in that space now? What you're describing, is anything happening?
Well, there are pockets of things happening, but it's not the national movement that it should be. In my opinion, or in our opinion, again, there are things that are being done, but people are uncertain, and many people and many farmers are doing the things that are going to get them the grants and the money. They're not thinking necessarily about the next generation per se, but they're thinking about what it's going to take to sustain, what they're doing. But we have to think beyond that. I mean, just like, what's the name, Greta Thunberg, the recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize a few years ago, young lady, maybe 12 years old. He said, we have to think about leaving something for the youth, the next generation. And so it's important. I think to focus on that.
Okay. Interesting. Any other thoughts? I think that we have some other urban ag folks in the room. Do any of you have any thoughts these next 12, 18 months, what you'd like to see or some needs?
Sure, I'll share a little. This is Kip Curtis. I'm, for those of you who don't know me, I'm an associate professor of environmental history at Ohio State University. I teach on the regional campus in Mansfield. And I've been working in food systems as a kind of environmental studies and scientist scholar since 2009. And for the past 5 years, we're kind of trying to develop a sustainable approach to urban agriculture in a pilot system up there in Mansfield. Anybody who's been in urban agriculture recognizes some sort of steep challenges. Most important is that there isn't the kind of federal subsidy in small farming like there is in the rest of agriculture. And so like if you're taking stuff to the market, you're taking it without some of the protection that big producers end up getting. But it does appear to me that there's a shift in thinking in the Department of Agriculture, and there's a growing interest and focus in urban agriculture. And I think that's incredibly promising, and everyone should pay attention to that, because that could mean funding. But it also kind of demands of those of us who are up to it a kind of more robust business model, if you will. Like there's a selling the crops part of agriculture that if you're running a nonprofit, an educational garden, it's hard to get at. But that is kind of the promise, in a sense, of urban agriculture, is this can bring an income to a household if they can do it in a particular way. And I think there's kind of an promising emergent model around a kind of cooperative model in doing something like that, and that's really promising in the way coming up. And then the last bit is, and this is more back to extension folks, and OSU is, I would say, even more guilty of it than CSU. But if we're talking about urban agriculture, we're talking about farming. And if we're talking about farming, we can't be talking about an 8-month workshop or a 5-month workshop. Like it's a year of invested training or more. And I think if we want people to be successful in the urban ag space, we need to take seriously the kind of training that will aid them in doing that. And that's a serious commercial horticulture training, that's business, small business management training, and if you're looking at the cooperative model, that's that other layer of participation in a cooperative, what all that means. But I think with those pieces together, there's just tremendous promise in urban agriculture. We ought not be buying our specialty crops from more than 50 miles away, and we can do that in every small city, every large city in the United States, and add wealth to places in the economy where it's really needed most. So I actually think there's a lot of promise, but it's all very nascent right now, and we want to just position ourselves to be able to take advantage of some of these shifts.
Okay. Thank you for sharing, Kip. I think Glenda Ward, you have a question, comment, thoughts?
I just want to add to the conversation that's going on. So I am with the Farm Service Agency. I was assisting as a state executive director while we had a vacancy there, but now Dr. John Patterson is serving as our state executive director. So I'm just going to share a few things with you guys that I know he would like to be shared on this call. And one, Kip, you brought up a lot of great points, especially with bringing federal subsidy to the area. And I just wanted to point out with the Farm Service Agency, in connection with Nrcs, we are working to create an urban service center in Cleveland, which will be modeled similar to our traditional service centers that are across the state. I think we have 62 offices across the state covering all 88 counties. So it would be modeled after that. We are looking to staff it with 2 Nrcs people, 2 FSA people. And the biggest key to this, we believe, is that we need to be able to offer grants to farmers. So that's basically what we're doing with these hoop houses and the high tunnels. Traditional farmers are not entitled to grants, but we see a need for this in the urban areas in order to get these farmers up and running and get them a viable farming operation. We believe it needs to be grant-based. So just recently, we have met with Farm Bureau as well as several other key players, because in 2023, they're going to be negotiating a new farm bill. And so we think it's very, very critical that we get these type of grants, federal subsidies, whatever you want to call it, to the urban areas. But it has to start with, getting that into the farm bill. So I just wanted to throw that out there. This is great conversation. I just stumbled on this meeting just today, and I just thought I would pop in and listen and not talk. But boy, there's a lot of great conversation. So I just wanted to add that little bit of information for you guys.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing, Glenda, about that. So in terms of those urban service centers, it's in the works, or is there a timeline for when it will be implemented?
Well, everything that we do is federally based, and so our hands are tied at the national level, and that's a huge struggle. It's truly an obstacle. Initially, we wanted to have this service center up and running by the end of this fiscal year. So we put in a request to hire 2 individuals on the Farm Service Agency side. And that's they're just kicking the can down the road, I guess, because they don't have their ducks in a row, whatever. But we went ahead and we hired somebody, and we're putting them through training relatively soon that we feel would be a candidate for the urban service center once it's up and running. We have a lease that we already started, that we negotiated, and it's not been approved, but we're in the process, and it's in the Seven Hills Center where Nrcs is currently located, and that's just temporary space. So we have a few pieces in place, but have a long ways to go.
Okay. Wow. Wow. I mean, but having those few pieces is a big step. So when you mentioned about NRCS in the Seven Hills area, is there coordination with NRCS on this? Because I believe that there is a sort of a nationwide urban ag initiative within NRCS as well. Is that, or is it all related?
No,
Thank
it is all related. And currently, Cleveland, Ohio is one of the first 5 areas that they wanted to put a service center in. And we are
Okay.
working closely with John Wilson, who's at the head of NRCS here in Ohio. And there's 17 of these that are supposed to pop up across the country. So
Okay.
a lot of movement, but our goal really is to create this model in Cleveland that we can replicate in other cities across Ohio. We don't want this to be a one and done. We want to replicate it across Ohio. So any of these cities that have a need for this type of service, we can just,
Okay.
move
Okay.
quicker than we are right now.
And I know that we are running up on our time here. We try to stay true to our cutting it off at 3 o'clock. And so I do apologize you all for stacking the meeting so deep here. But just one quick question. Glenda, is there a role for that you see for the Cooperative Extension Service from OSU and CSU?
Well, great that you asked, because yes, we are going to be partnering with several key players. One is with the extension. So we are going to do a cooperative agreement with them. We're hoping to do a cooperative agreement with FAIR, which is Food Access Raises Everyone. I think that's the correct wording for that. And those two are non-competitive agreements. And then we are hoping to get funding where we will have non-competitive, or we'll have competitive agreements. So there could be potential partnerships down the road as well.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Mark, I think you raised your hand. Anything to share as we get ready to close out?
Yes, yes. I didn't want to be remiss, and I didn't want to be preemptive if my friend Pastor Lavelle Henderson had gotten on the line to talk about Ridolph's veteran program. But before we got off, I just wanted to mention that we are in that space very deeply. That there is a whole regenerative effect that farming has on veterans, especially those that suffer from PTSD. And so, there's an emerging how would you say, new frontier when it comes to therapy and urban farming from the veterans perspective. And so we have a very robust program. We'd really like for you all to check it out and also help us in ways that we can help reach more people and also replicate it across the country.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And Reverend Henderson, he was going to participate today and share about his activities working with and supporting veterans and as well as in coordination with the urban ag activities for veterans that Ridolph has been doing and building for quite some time there. Well, we are at 3 o'clock. I do want to thank you all for logging in and sharing some time with us today. We will have 3 more sessions this month dealing with our topic of urban agriculture, the urban agriculture movement in Ohio. Next week, our topic will be the urban agriculture, the startup ecosystem. So we will have some organizations represented and individuals represented who are getting started, or as individuals or organizations that are pulling people together to get started and building the urban ag ecosystems in their different in their cities. And so we will have some of that next week when we present at 2 o'clock on Thursday the 14th from 2 to 3. And again, thank you all for joining us today, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.